Hello and welcome back to my weekly show where I talk about the ups and downs and in-betweens of selling on eBay. Did you see my video last week on the eBay algorithm? I had a lot of fun making that video. It's quite a long one, lots of information packed in there, but had a good time making it. Hopefully you enjoyed it as well. Let's jump into some viewer questions.
Hey Justin, it's Ron again.
Hey.
As always, appreciate your videos.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I have a question about sell-through. So I've been doing this about 45 days. I got into it by watching YouTube, and I'm having such a good time. I've listed right now 245 items total. I've sold 71, so that would put, based on the way I understand sell-through, at about 29%. What I don't know is that good? Is it bad? Or does that matter based on your profit margin? Can you have a smaller sell-through rate if you have a higher profit margin? Just in your experience, what should it be? I know the higher the better, but what is it typically? Again, appreciate your videos, and I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, thanks, Ron. By the way, if you have any questions for me and you want to send in a video or audio question like that, there's a link in the description below. But to answer your question, store sell-through rate, your own sell-through rate. And in my opinion, that's just not all that important. Sell-through rate is important when you're researching individual items and whether you want to buy them to resell or not. Then sell-through rate is extremely important. Assuming you do that, assuming you do your research at the time of acquisition and you're only buying items that meet a certain threshold that's specific to you, then your store's sell-through rate, I don't think is all that important. I don't pay any attention to my store sell-through rate for that specific reason. And it just depends on so many different factors. It depends entirely on what you sell. So I can't really say whether 29% sell-through rate is good or bad. And I think you're getting to the point there of are you making the money that you want to make? If so, then your sell-through rate's probably doing just fine. Other things to consider are is inventory stacking up in your house and taking up space where you don't have room to do anything else? And that's another big consideration. I have a basement set aside for my inventory, so sell-through rate of my stores is less important. I sometimes hold on to things for a year, 2 years even before they actually sell. And so the sell-through rate of my store is less important than the money that it's bringing in. I'm happy with the money that I'm bringing in. I don't even know what my store's sell-through rate is. I don't know if it's good or bad, but it works for me. Whatever it is, it works for me. And that's what I would suggest to you. Just evaluate your business as a whole across all the metrics and not focus too much on specific sell-through rate of your store. Because again, if you're checking sell-through rate when you're buying stuff, then you can trust that your store's sell-through rate will be okay. When it would make sense to look at your sell-through rate is if you're buying things that only have a really, really, really high sell-through rate, but they're just not selling and your store's sell-through rate is really low. That would be weird. I just don't see that happening though. I don't see that being an issue where your store's sell-through rate would not reflect the sell-through rate of the individual items that you're buying to resell. So those things should be in direct connection. They should fluctuate with one another. They should not be different. But I guess tracking, your store's sell-through rate might be helpful in that regard. And yeah, you can definitely have a smaller sell-through rate and a higher profit margin just because it's highly dependent on what you sell and the value of what you sell. So you could have an extremely low sell-through rate, but a very high profit margin because you're selling slow-selling stuff, but it's worth a lot of money. And maybe that's okay with you. Maybe that works for your business. Or you could have the exact opposite, right? You could have an extremely high sell-through rate, but a really low profit margin and a really low net income coming back to you because what you're selling is highly desirable, but cheap, and you're not making a whole lot of money. And so sell-through rate at that point, who cares whether you're selling 1,000 things a month if you're only making $10, right? So, and yeah, the higher the better is a good way to define it, but there's no typical. Highly dependent on what you sell. And again, it's subjective, it just really depends on a lot of variables that are specific to you. And there's no industry-wide standard or anything like that. Deborah asks, I do next day shipping, but oftentimes ship the same day. I'm afraid to change to the same day because I'm on the East Coast. Whenever someone has bought from me in Pacific time zone before midnight there, but 3 a.m. here, eBay has the ship time as the same day for me. If I change the same day shipping and purchase is made at 7 p.m. my time, but 4 p.m. for the buyer, will I need to run to the post office that evening? Thanks again for your wealth of information. Well, thank you, Deborah. Thanks for sending along a question. There is a way to handle this if you want to provide same day shipping. I talked about this in that algorithm video I made last week where the eBay algorithm is going to favor for your listings if you provide same-day shipping. I don't provide same-day shipping. I provide next-day shipping, but really buyers want their items as quickly as they possibly can. eBay knows this. eBay knows that it pleases the buyer. My assessment is that if you offer same-day shipping, that's a little bit better than offering next-day shipping. Both of those, you get top-rated seller plus status on your listings if you offer it. But you're right. If somebody buys something at, I don't know, 3 p.m., does that mean I got to go pack it up and go to the post office again right away? And eBay does provide some tools to allow you to handle this in a much better way. I'll just show you here. It's like your shipping preferences. They have a select cutoff times for same day dispatch, and you can edit on a day-by-day basis. So you can set your working days and you can set cutoff times for same day handling on those working days, just like this. So pretty handy. You can set that to be whatever you want. That just means if someone buys something after this cutoff time, then it is not eligible for same day shipping. It's only eligible for same day shipping if you buy before a certain time. So I think that works out pretty well. I have all my items set to next day shipping. We do our shipping first thing in the morning, but you could, use this tool to offer same day shipping, but set your cutoff time to an early point in the day. That way, if somebody gets an order in before a specific time, they can get same day shipping. If not, then they'll get next day shipping. So give that a shot. That should fix that for you. All right, let's jump into my top 10 sales for the week. If you have any questions for me, leave them in the comment section below and I will answer them in a future video. I'll also leave time codes in the description. So if you want to jump around to specific questions, you can do that. Looking at my sales for the last 7 days, $984 in gross sales and $535 in net sales. That's a 54% net profit margin and an average gross per sale of $25.89, an average net per sale of $13.72. That's really low. I can already tell just by looking at that I've been selling a lot of lower value items this week. Let me look at my all-time for that. Yeah, $38.96 is my all-time average gross per sale in 22.16, and the last 7 days was a lot less, $25.13, so a lot less. So I'm selling a lot of cheaper items this week. Looks like I spent only $28 on new inventory. That's because I didn't go to garage sales this past weekend. Took a day off. I wanted to sleep in for once. Saturdays, I've been getting up every Saturday morning at like 6:30 to go to garage sales. This past weekend, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to sleep in. I'm not going to go to garage sales. So I didn't spend a whole lot on new inventory. I do have quite a big backlog of stuff to be listed, so I felt okay doing that. Looks like of the stuff that sold this past week, I spent $94.85 on the cost of goods there, $143 in marketplace fees, and just over $200 in shipping labels. Had 31 new listings, 35 is my goal, so just under my goal, and 41 sales, pretty good, but they were lower sales. The average time to list is 2 days, and 6 months was my average time to sell, and I had a total return on investment for the week of 450%. Coming in at number 10 is this Fisker's paper trimmer. This thing, I believe, was new in the box. I got it at a garage sale back in September. It took 29 days to sell for $44.98. That's $29.99 plus $14.99 in shipping. My net return for the 10th best flip of the week was $18.89. My purchase price there was $5. I figured that was a no-brainer for a brand new in-box paper cutter here. So is that what it was? Paper cutter? Paper trimmer? Same thing? I don't know. Anyway, 10th best flip of the week. Coming in at number 9, I've had this thing for a while. This is a Walls branded coverall. So this is like a big thing you might wear when shoveling snow. It is about to be that season here in most of the U.S. $49.98 was the sell price. That's $39.99 plus $9.99 in shipping. I got it at a Savers for $15 9 months ago. So I just had to wait for the right season here. $20.48 was the net return for the 9th best flip of the week. I feel like I see these Walls branded coveralls quite a bit when I'm outsourcing at garage sales and thrift stores, but I bought this one. I haven't been buying them. This was the first and only one that I bought, and I haven't been buying the more recent ones because this thing just wasn't selling, and it's kind of a pain to ship. It's a lot bigger than you would expect it to be. Obviously, it's not going to break in transit or anything, but you can't really polybag this thing. It went in a pretty large box. It cost only $8.06 to ship, so must have been going somewhere close. But anyway, I may consider picking these up again, but they do take up a lot of space and they sell relatively slowly, so we'll see.
Hey, Justin, Jason again, down in my listing cave. So I've been getting a fair number of returns lately and a couple of negative feedbacks that have all been centered around item quality and the buyer disagreeing with the state of the item that I listed it in, even though pictures and all of that good stuff, but that's a different conversation. The whole rating system for items seems a little bit arbitrary to me. One person's good might be another person's very good. And to me, it kind of just seems a little bit like semantics. So do you have any advice or any quick tips for assessing the quality of an item? Obviously, new versus used versus open box is pretty straightforward, but when it comes to those, acceptable versus good versus very good versus like new, I was wondering if you had any hard and fast rules that you go by in order to assess item quality. Thanks very much. Bye.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. Appreciate you sending that question along. But yeah, that whole rating system that you're talking about, it is really subjective. One person's good is another person's acceptable. And not even that, but across different categories of items, it's not always applicable. And I always think of like vinyl records, where you have buyers that buy vinyl records have a very specific rating system for the condition of those vinyl records. And unless you understand that rating system, you want to be very careful selling vinyl records because if you put it in the wrong condition, you're going to make that buyer mad. You're going to get an item not as described. You're going to get returns. That's why I sort of just stopped selling vinyl records on eBay unless they were new in the packaging, is because I just didn't understand the rating system all that much. I also just didn't sell a whole lot of vinyl records. And so if that became my core business, I would do the work to understand that rating system better. But my point is, eBay has a just generic rating system. They're just like, it's excellent, good, acceptable. I forget what they are now. And those apply to everything. They're not category specific and they're very subjective. And so it can be really annoying because one person's acceptable is another person's good, and you think something is good, but they don't think it's good. It's just, it's a mess, and it can definitely lead to that. What I do to combat that is I just sort of under promise and over deliver. So almost everything I am saying that the condition is worse than it actually is. And I'm not making stuff up. I'm not saying like there's, dirt and rips and holes, but if there's a hole, I don't try to gloss over that. I don't try to be like, oh, there's a tiny hole that you can't even notice. I just say there's a hole, in the shirt or whatever. And just, I try to under promise and over deliver. And so like the best feedback that I get that I like the most is when someone says, oh, this came in much better condition than I thought. That's the feeling that I'm trying to convey when I describe my items and when I give them a condition and use the eBay rating system. So I almost always use acceptable as like the lowest one as possible on that rating system. And then I offer more condition descriptions in the actual description or the condition description box. But yeah, I would just under promise and over deliver on that. Don't get discouraged. These things, I find that negative feedback or returns, they come in waves. And I feel like I never get like one negative feedback a year. It's usually like I get one negative feedback and then like a week later I get another one. I don't know why. It's just the way the universe works, I guess.
Hi, this is Marina, and
Hi.
I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
Whenever I do research on eBay for one of my listings, I'll always get offers from those sellers because they think I'm interested in purchasing their product. Is there any way I could do this without the sellers thinking I want to buy their product? Thanks.
Sure, Marina. Yeah, you're right. When you do research on eBay as a seller, you're looking at active listings, you're looking at sold listings, and just doing that research often sends the exact same signals to eBay and to eBay sellers as if you were a buyer interested in those things. And you'll notice as a seller, you can send offers to potential buyers even if they have not watched the item. And so even if someone just looks at your listing, you can often send them an offer. And I think that's what's happening here. Is I'm sure you're not actually watching the items. If you're watching the items, that's definitely going to make you eligible to receive offers on them. But sometimes even just looking at the actual listing will make you eligible to receive an offer from the seller. And the only way around it that I know is to use the product research tool. So this is through my eBay or the Seller Hub, and it used to be called TerraPeak, and it's just an interface specifically built for sellers to allow them to search active and sold items and offer some different tooling around there. And to be honest, like I still don't use it. They made some improvements to the product research tool, but in my opinion, it's still so much faster to just search as a buyer, just searching active and sold, that I have not made the switch to using the product research tool. But that would prevent you from appearing as a potential buyer to those sellers and getting offers on those items. But I think even if you are using the product research tool, if you click into an active listing, that still could make you eligible. So it's not foolproof. I think you could still be falling under a scenario where sellers are sending you offers even though you're not interested in it. So it is kind of annoying, but no real way around it 100% of the time. So Coming in at number 8 is this New Balance crew neck sweatshirt. This is a women's, I've had this for a long time, garage sale for $3. I'm surprised it took this long to sell. It was made in the US. It was a pretty cool sweater. It had like some zippers on the side there. Usually the made in USA stuff does pretty well. I mean, for $3, why not? But this sold for $35. I think I took a best offer on it. Let's see here. Yeah, $44.50 is what it was listed at, and I took a best offer for $35. The net return for the 8th best flip of the week was $20.54 for this New Balance sweatshirt. Coming in at number 7 is this Tyrann Matthew Kansas City Chiefs jersey. I bought this just this past weekend at a garage sale for $5. It sold for $36.98, had a net return of $20.96 for the 7th best flip of the week. Matthew is not on the Chiefs anymore. I think he's on the Saints, but I'm a big Chiefs fan. I was born in Kansas City. I grew up in Texas, but I just remember in the 90s, my dad was obviously a big Chiefs fan. He's from Kansas City. He would always say, you know what, if the Chiefs make it to the Super Bowl, we can have a big Super Bowl party. And I was always so excited about that, and they never made it to the Super Bowl in the 90s. It took all the way up until, 2018. It's so much fun being a Chiefs fan right now. It's so much fun to watch. And so still undefeated. We had a winning game yesterday. So I was a little apprehensive about picking this one up just because Matthew was not, I mean, he's a good player, but he wasn't all that popular, and he's not on the Chiefs anymore. So was anybody going to want this jersey? But I checked the sold comps. People did, and it sold in 2 days. So definitely a good sale for $20.96 in the 7th best flip of the week.
Hey Justin, Josh here. Last week I bought a factory sealed board game from a thrift store and listed it on eBay. But within 24 hours, eBay sent me a notice saying that they had removed my listing because they had determined it was counterfeit. First of all, I had no idea there was a counterfeit market for board games, but I'm also not sure why they think it's counterfeit because it looks legitimate to me. My question is this: do you have a process that you go through to determine whether or not the items that you're reselling are legitimate? I'm just curious and a little bit spooked because I've just sold my first set of high-end tennis shoes and sent them to the authenticator. So now I'm worried maybe, are the ones that I just sent them legitimate either? Thanks for all that you do. Bye.
Yeah, Josh, appreciate you sending that along. And that does suck. Did you actually get like a Vero claim, VERO? Was it a Vero claim takedown from the manufacturer of the board game, or was it something else? Because, eBay does provide the ability for anyone to report a listing. And one of the reasons that they give you to report a listing is that it is counterfeit. And so I've heard rumors that, sellers out there who see someone else selling in their space, like being competition, will go and report your listings as counterfeit to get them taken down. I'm not saying that is what happened here. I'm just saying that maybe that's a possibility. I don't have any specific experience with that. That's never happened to me in a way that I know. And I also don't know if you get a Vero takedown from a manufacturer saying that it's counterfeit, is that different from if someone or some group of people submit a report on your listing saying it's counterfeit? Those I think are two different things, but I'm not 100% sure. I also don't think that just one person can report your listing for counterfeit and then eBay will take it down. My guess is they have some sort of automation system set up where if more than one person, I don't know, reports it as counterfeit, then maybe it gets flagged and maybe inspected and removed. There's just no way that eBay has the capacity to inspect every single listing for whether it's counterfeit or not, even if they only did it for the ones that were, submitted as counterfeit through this report button. So I don't know. If it was a Vero takedown and it's coming from the manufacturer, I would be a little bit more scared, and I would not mess with relisting it. But even so, honestly, I probably would not relist this board game just because eBay has told you that it's counterfeit. And that's me just being overly protective of my account. I think about the long term. No individual sale for me is worth getting my account taken down. And so even if it is some crappy seller out there who's mad that I'm selling in their space and they're reporting my stuff for counterfeit, or they're reporting my stuff as counterfeit, okay, that sucks, but my business is bigger than just one sale. And so I'll find a different way to sell that item if I need to. That's just me. Maybe you can risk it. Maybe you can reach out to eBay directly and ask them. Their eBay support, when you can get them on the phone, it's a little difficult to get them on the phone, but once you do, they're always pretty helpful. They may be able to give you some good advice on this situation. But your actual question there at the end was, what do I do to ensure that what I'm selling is not counterfeit? And the answer there is really nothing. I don't sell a whole lot of stuff that is of a category where it's common to get counterfeit items. And when I do, it's really obvious. Like, I sell clothes a lot, and like sometimes I'll find like a Patagonia jacket and it's like very clear that this is not a real Patagonia jacket. Same goes for like shoes as well. That just comes with experience of selling. I just you can tell after selling for so long, you can just tell when something is not real. But I stay away from categories where counterfeits are really rampant. That's just like the luxury goods items. Like I don't sell purses and things like that. I don't know anything about them. I don't know whether they're fake or not. So I just don't sell that type of thing. And when you sell shoes on eBay over a certain amount, they do go through the authentication program. But even if they don't get authenticated, and even if eBay says, oh, these are not real, I don't think that that's like damaging to your eBay account in any way. They just won't let you sell them. They'll send them back to you and cancel the order. Maybe if you're doing that, 100 times, they might get upset or something. So I wouldn't worry about that one pair of shoes. Also, like, if you do suspect that something may be counterfeit, just start going to Google, start searching around, seeing if you can find some guides online about how to spot counterfeit items versus not. And, often you can also inspect comps on eBay, both active and sold comps, and compare, your item with other listed items. And sometimes you can spot differences between the two. Sometimes I'll do that. So, but yeah, it's kind of a weird situation. My guess is maybe you got reported by another seller. Hopefully this helps. Coming to number 6 is this vintage St. Louis Cardinals starter jacket. This one came from a garage sale for $5. It sold for $36.98. It took 24 days. The net return for the 6th best flip was $21.02. So a lot of clothes going out this week. This jacket was kind of just a boring but vintage jacket. So I wasn't expecting to make a whole lot on it. Didn't make a whole lot on it. Only took $6 to ship. I'm guessing it went pretty close. It's one of the benefits of sourcing sort of for your local team is that typically they're not going to get shipped very far away. Coming in at number 5 is this Pokemon Alpha Sapphire Nintendo 3DS game. Just the cartridge here. This came from a consignment deal that I'm doing with a friend. I don't do consignments very often at all. I'm doing this more as a favor for a friend who had a bunch of stuff that he didn't want to sell on eBay. So I was like, sure, why not? I'll do it for you. And when we built Flipwise, we didn't build any consignment specific stuff into it, but it turns out it works pretty well when you sell stuff on consignment because you can just give each person you consign with a unique purchase location like this. This one's called CS Dan, and you can view that purchase location here, and I can see here 47 items have been listed so far, 15 have been sold. I have a net income of $176 so far. I told him I would split the net income, so really easy to just go here and see how it's performing. And once it's all done, I can send the 50% over to my friend here. But what is this? This sold, I don't even remember. What is this? This is number 5. This is the 5th best flip of the week, $29.99. The net return was $21.64. Video game stuff just flies off the shelves. Pokemon stuff in particular, 3DS stuff, really fast sellers. This thing, about 2 hours. Look at that. So I priced it to sell, and it was gone very, very quickly.
Hi, Justin. I'm enjoying your videos. I have a question about frame measurements and item specifics. I've been leaving it blank for selling art because I'm afraid that I'm ruling out a large portion of buyers that will not match my measurements. How does eBay use measurements? Because it couldn't be an exact match in most cases. So thank you for an answer.
Sure, Kathy. Thanks for sending that along. Your question here is really about using measurements of art when selling art on eBay. So I'm assuming you're talking about like a framed picture, for example, and you don't put those measurements in there now. And you really want to think about, eBay's using that information in 2 different ways. One way is the most important way, which is like letting the buyer know what they're going to get. And so buyers, especially buying art, are going to expect that they have the measurements in the listing, and they're going to expect to want to know how large the piece is. And so if you're not providing that information, you're just not giving the buyer enough information to make an informed purchasing decision. So I would definitely recommend doing it, if for no other reason than that, is just to make sure that the buyers know what they're going to get. But eBay's also using that information to populate the metadata of that listing, which helps power search and helps buyers, find specific items. And that seems to be what you're more worried about, that if you specify specifics like the length and width that you're going to rule out buyers. And that's true, but you want to do that in this situation. You don't want to attract buyers who don't want your item. You want to attract buyers who want the item that you have. And so by providing the measurements, yes, you are going to weed out some buyers, but that's part of selling. You don't want to attract buyers that ultimately don't want to buy your items. You want to attract buyers that do want to buy your items. And so by specifying those measurements in the listing, it's going to tell the buyers what they're going to get. It's also going to tell the eBay search algorithm, what the dimensions are, and provide that for buyers who are searching for very specific pieces of art of a specific size. So I definitely recommend you do it on both accounts. It's important to do it for both of those reasons. I definitely wouldn't leave it out. So thanks for sending that question along. Coming in at number 4, this is a really weird one. I've had this one for over a year. This is some vintage earplugs. So I bought these at a thrift store for 50 cents a piece. I remember why not? They look kind of cool, kind of vintage. Someone's going to want that, right? It took a year to find that person, but they did. They bought 4 of them for $40 total. The net return was $30.80 for the 4th best flip of the week for these vintage earplugs. So people will buy literally anything on eBay. So pretty funny. I remember when I got these, I didn't even look them up. I knew the sell-through rate was going to be terrible, but I don't know. Some things you just see and want to buy, and that's what happened here. I wanted to buy these things. I wanted to sell them, and now they're gone. Coming in at number 3 is this vintage Barbie shirt from the 90s. I bought this over a year ago. This is at the height of popularity of the Barbie movie last summer. I had it priced pretty high. I was hoping to take advantage of all the hoopla around the Barbie movie. I probably had it priced a little bit too high because it didn't sell then. It took a year to sell. $46.99 for the 3rd best flip of the week. It was also like a girl's size, a youth size. So that didn't help it either, but put the measurements in there. Hopefully it doesn't get returned. $34.24 for the 3rd best flip of the week. For this Barbie shirt. Only cost $1 at a garage sale.
Hi, Justin. Appreciate the content that you put out. It's been most helpful. I have a question about selling a liquor bottle. I picked up a bottle of Lucas Bowles Ballerina liqueur that is full, and I've seen in comps where a couple of people at least have sold full bottles for quite a bit more money than empty ones. And from researching eBay's policy, it appears that liquor cannot be sold and only approved sellers may sell wine. All other liquor bottles must be empty. So just want to get your thoughts on it. Would like to take advantage of the higher price point for full bottles, but also don't want to get kicked off eBay. Thanks in advance. Appreciate again everything that you put out there for us to learn from.
Yeah, thanks, Huck. Thanks for sending that along. You're right. I think eBay's policy is that you can't sell, liquor bottles that have liquor in them for all sorts of reasons that are pretty obvious. But you do see some people actually selling it, and so it is makes you wonder, well, how come these people can get away with it? Should I get away with it too? eBay's ability to enforce their policies can be dicey at times, and so this is why you see people selling things that go against their policies. I think it's just difficult for them to enforce their policies in every scenario for every single listing out there. And so some people are just likely to slip through the cracks. But what looking at comps like that doesn't show are the people who don't slip through the cracks and who do get their accounts taken away for selling things that they shouldn't. And so I just wouldn't risk it at all. You got to think about your business as much bigger than a single sale. And while it would be nice to make, even double the amount on a specific sale, is that worth losing out on hundreds of thousands of dollars that you could make on eBay over the course of your selling career? Probably not. That's the way you want to look at it. eBay has these policies for a reason. When you break those policies, you're risking your account, and it's very difficult to get your account back if you actually lose your account. It's not impossible. I know that there are people out there that do it, but it's very, very difficult. You got to jump through a bunch of hoops. So my recommendation is to just not do it. Don't try to sell things that are against eBay policy. I think eBay actually requires that you put empty in the title there. Trying to enforce that policy in that way. And I know people skirt that by putting empty in the title, but leaving some sort of clue to the buyer that it's not actually going to be empty. It's just not worth it. Think about your account on a much bigger scale. Thanks for sending that along, Huck. Appreciate it. Coming in at number 2 is another Pokemon video game from that same consignment deal. This is Pokemon Silver for Nintendo Game Boy. Also took less than a day to sell, 12 hours, $49.99, free shipping. The net return was $37.57 for the 2nd best flip of the week. That leaves us with number 1, this Kate Spade purse that looks like a dog with sunglasses, I guess. I don't know. My wife picked this up. She has a good eye for this stuff. I don't think I would have known to buy this. 6 months we've had it. We got it at a garage sale earlier this year for $3, and it sold for the best flip of the week, $59.99. That's $55 plus $4.99 in shipping. The net return for the single best flip of the week was $44.94. Back to looking at my insights for the week, I knew that I was just selling lower priced stuff. My top flip was only $44.94, and look at that, my average is $25.89 and $13.72. So a lot of cheap stuff going out. Really weird. And this is why it's so much fun tracking your data in this way, is you can just see these trends, and it's just really interesting. 41 sales. You would think I would have made more money than $984, but because that average gross per sale was low, it just didn't end up being a whole lot of money. But 41 sales in the week is high for me, so it's really interesting to see how it plays out week to week. But yeah, this is just like a little coin purse. The thing's actually pretty small, and Kate Spade is a well-known brand. This is a unique design. I think we took a best offer, $59.99. Yeah, it was listed at $69.99. So we probably sent a best offer out on that was accepted on it. But yeah, still not bad. $44.94 for the best flip of the week. That's going to do it. One of the most crucial things you can do for your reselling business is keep accurate records. With the IRS expected to lower the income threshold for eBay reporting from $20,000 to $5,000 next year, this becomes even more important. So that means if you exceed $5,000 in gross sales this year, eBay will report that as income to the IRS for you. This means you need to be tracking your reselling expenses closely to reduce your taxable income effectively. If you enjoy these videos and want to support the channel, Flipwise is a tool I built specifically to help resellers like me and you track those expenses automatically. By using Flipwise, not only are you getting a powerful tool to automate your eBay reselling business and simplify tax time, but you're also helping to support the channel and ensure that I can keep making videos like this one. Flipwise automates your record keeping by importing all of your active listings and sold items going back 2 years. If you're behind on record keeping, Flipwise makes it easy to catch up in no time. And while it's focused on eBay, Flipwise also lets you manually record sales from other marketplaces like Mercari, Facebook Marketplace, Poshmark, and even local sales. It also provides unique insights into your reselling business, such as which sourcing locations are performing best, your best and worst sales, and metrics like ROI and net profit margin. You can also track business expenses like shipping supplies, subscription fees, and other tax-deductible expenses. Flipwise is free to use for new sellers with small stores and for everyone else. Check the description below for a promo code to get 20% off your first month. As always, thank you so much for your support.